So now let's continue with the slide. As we talk about project planning, gives me clarity about all those items. Make sense? Where, when, how, why, and all. Before you start the project, make sure you have requirement clear. All the requirement part is clear. So we talk about last couple of class in scope and out scope. In scope and out scope. So what is in scope, Mansi?
In scope is like the functionality that we will cover, that we will work on. Out of scope is something could be related to the project, but that's not what they're going to worry about, or that's not what they're.
So very good. So when I draw the rectangle block, that's called system. System. When I draw the rectangle block, that's called system. So anything inside the system is in scope, which we are doing it. Anything is outside, we are not doing it. So when you do the project planning, you normally plan for in scope. You're not planning for out scope. So it's very important that you and your stakeholders are agreed upon what is in scope, right? So for us to understand in scope, what tool you use is called collecting requirement. You use collecting requirements. So I'm going to quickly go through some tools about collecting requirement. I'll come back to some slide. So we go through collecting requirements. So like that is a tool we use. So first we identify what's the need, what problem we are trying to solve, right? What's need and who is the customer, right? We always want to know that. Second thing, as we go further, we do prototype. As a business analyst, you need to do prototypes. Then you do survey. Is this needs are expressed by most of the customers, some of the customers, or less of the customers, right? And then you talk and meet one-on-one, and you kind of do interview one-on-one and try to find out what is the need they have. By understanding customers' detail or doing like a kind of workshop or brainstorming sessions, you kind of bring people on the same page what problem they're trying to solve, right? And is that right problem? Is that the right problem? Are we engaging and including all those people's opinion? Because some people may have perspective or opinion or suggestions. Are we including that? Once you combine all those things later on, you kind of come up with the prioritizations. Prioritization means like, okay, I cannot do everything, but we are going to do only this item. What would be the 1 to 20 item we should work on? And that would be a phase one. Phase one means what we're going to do phase one, and then you will define phase two. Make sense? Or? And something you will say out of scope. So phase one means you're going to plan for this project, and then you will plan for this project. So for time being, can we assume that we have requirement for the project? Answer is yes. And now question is, if I have a requirement, how am I going to do plan? Make sense or not? So this is where we are thinking about. We assume that business analyst has done all the toolings. Business analyst has done observations, meetings, survey, focus group, jet sessions, and now he's prioritizing with working with the stakeholder, and he has prioritized that. Now business stakeholders say, okay, now do plan for this scope. Plan for this scope and come up with the timeline and the cost and the resource model for the project. Question.
So these are the ways to prioritize requirements, right?
Many ways. So people like, if you are sitting in a one room, you can give them sticky note, and then they can say red means high priority, and maybe blue means low priority, and green means very less priority, right? You can do that, or you can do dot thing, right? One dot, more dots I have means more priority. Everyone has a dot. So if everyone put one dot and multiple people put one dot, then this is high priority, right? Again, ranking can give thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs side, whichever ways you want to do prioritization. But prioritization means agreement. Agreement with your stakeholder, which item we will be working on first, and which item will be working on second, and which item will be working on third. Make sense? Order has to be important. Yes.
And Kano analysis and Moscow that you taught is also used for this, right?
Okay, this is a tool. Yeah, Kano, you can use Moscow YouTube tool, you can use any tool you can use. But at the end of the day, you come up with the tasks or initiatives which you want to prioritize. So all those tools will help you to list out what are the things we're going to do part of the project. And then you have to do plan. So first you collect the requirement. And then once you collect the requirement, you will have a requirement like this. And then we can say, oh, we cannot do all, but we can do this much. And that is your in scope. And from there, you can prioritize, okay, which one will be first, which one will be second, which one will be third, like that. Make sense? Okay, so now I think we got that idea. Now let's go back to this thing. If I show you this thing, out of this, which one is project and which one is a process?
Rajman is a project.
This is the project. Okay.
Eiffel Tower also is a project.
Project.
This is the process.
This one. This is also a project, and this is the process. So, what is the difference between process versus project?
Project has a start and end, and then it's done.
Very good.
It's over.
So, project always has start date and end date. Project always has start date and end date. Project delivers, when complete, it delivers some kind of unique deliverable. So it can be like a result, it can be service, or it can be product. It deliver result, service, or product. Project is always risky because you are doing first time. Anytime you do project, you are doing first time, so project is always risky. So it's unique. It has a start date and end date. But in process, you are repeating multiple times. You're repeating. So when you repeat multiple times, you're doing same old. So you're not really producing uniqueness. So process is less risky because you have done many times. If you do many times, then process becomes simpler and easier. But project is always unique. This project is quite different than this project. This project is quite different from this project. But if I'm saying, hey, I'm making a chocolate factory, so I'm making a chocolates in a factory, it's kind of operation. Every day I'm doing. So if I'm doing every day, it becomes naturally easy for me because I'm repeating thousands of times. So process means repetition, but project is uniqueness. So which one has a high risk? Project has a high risk. Project is a finite timeline, start and end. So far, so good. Any questions? People on phone? Hitesh and Rachel, any questions so far? Right.
No.
Good, thank
No
you.
question. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is the most popular question in your interview. Why project comes in picture? Why project comes in picture? This is a very popular question. I guarantee you will see this question in your interview. So project comes in a reality, or project comes in discussion with many reasons. The first is the market demand, because there is a market demand that there is a lot more people want that. So you might have think about the electric car. So electric car, because of like gas price was going up last year, electric car was becoming more preferred. And as soon as electric car become more preferred, more and more car companies are creating electric car, or at least hybrid car. Do you guys agree? So gas guzzler, like those who use like Ram or Ford F50 and all, they don't use now truck, right? Most people are like now cost sensitive, so they use electric car or maybe car which allows higher mileage, which is like a hybrid car. Second is customer interest. Example, in our case, let's say example, Pfizer was not even planning to do COVID-19 vaccine, but our United States needed, hey, we need a vaccine. So United States give $2 billion to Pfizer to do innovations, and come up with the research and development, and come up with the Pfizer COVID vaccine. So who was the customer? United States government. And they become a government, become a customer. So customers say, I'm needing money, I need vaccines. And that forced Pfizer to come up with the innovation. Second thing is organization needs. Yes.
Market demand and customer request seems different, but it's pretty much
Different,
like
right?
kind of
Customer,
similar, right?
No, it's not. Like, here, who was the customer? United States of government.
But that's also the demand that the
No,
customer.
it's only one. It's only one. And market the entire world has, right? So customer can be one or two, right? If someone come to me and say, I want training, I want a business knowledge training, or I need a PMBA. Let's say I'm not offering class, but if I have 20 students coming, then I'll offer it, right? But I know quality assurance has a market demand. Data analytics has a market demand. Cloud engineer has a market demand. So I keep offering those classes. So there are classes I only offer like Six Sigma or Lean Six Sigma. There are classes I only offer when students want to have, because there is not too many students who want that. But market demand is business analysis, data analysis, cloud engineer, quality assurance, they have significant demand. So market demand means everywhere there is demand. Not only United States, it can be other part of the world also. Customer request means there are specific 1 or 2 customers are initiating that, which is called early adopter. They invest money, they think, hey, can you do it for me? Like that. Organization need means like when you do SWOT analysis, right? When you do SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat, you realize that there is a significant weakness you have. So you guys know recently there is a one buzzword going on in market, what do you call it? Chat GPT, right? Do you know what is that about? What is that?
It's like a search engine, but it's more personalized to you. Like if you go to Google, then you get so many results, and you have to go one-on-one and look for what you want. Whereas this is like talking to a person.
So, do you agree that even your normal customer, you can see the difference? That Google gives me lots of things, and this one personalized, right? So right now, just to give an idea, Google today announced that they are going to come up with the Lambda, and they very similar with this new search engine we talk about. So that is called organization need, because Google realized that if these type of applications will come in market, no one will use their search engine. So now this is Google themselves, which is the organization. They themselves come up with the innovation. Hey, we want to do project, and our project name will be Lambda. And then they came up with the concept Lambda. Today was announced by their CEO Satya that Lambda will be available soon, and they will make it affordable and make it free basically, and it will be part of Google search engine also. So nobody is asking, but organizations think that they have weakness now, because if they don't act or don't they react, then they will lose the market share or market segment. The second is a legal requirement. So when I was working in automotive company, like Jeb Bush and Obama say, you know what, we need 32 mpg, 32 miles per gallon. It means the old cars, all Chrysler cars and all GM cars and all, they used to give like 20, 22 miles per gallon. But Jeff W. Bush and Obama, they forced them that, hey, we need to have a high quality car, which provide better mpg, which is mile per gallon. And now the requirement is each car has to provide around 32 miles per gallon. So that is a legal requirement. If you are not able to do, you cannot drive car. Another requirement is every car should generate X percentage of CO2, or they should reduce. So that's why every car manufacturer has to think about how they can reduce the CO2. So the CO2 part is also legal requirement. If car generate more CO2, then it will not be worthwhile. So there are many more reasons project comes in picture. So in your interview, people will ask you why project comes in existence. So these are many reasons: market demand, customer demand, organization demand, or legal demand. They may ask, what about your project? If they ask about, let's say some of you say, I work for Sharma Marketplace, then what would you say? What is the driving force for your project?
Market demand?
Maybe market demand. So let's say market demand, then you have to have innovative product which you want to sell in the market. Yes or no? So that's why last week homework was important, right? Last week homework was, hey, there is a problem. There are a lot of customers are there, but there is no solution. So my project will provide the solution. So last week project was the innovative idea. Now today is all about implementation. So concept was last week. Now we are doing execution. And in executions, we need to have detailed breakdown. Make sense or no? Now, any questions so far? So far, so good. As we go further, anytime when you start a project management brings tremendous value. Whenever I say project management, I'm also talking about business analysis. Okay. So business analysis is considered as a part of project management, where you kind of make things simple and manageable. Any complex project, you can break it down and create a manageable. And you improve team productivity because you provide clarity. Everyone is scheduled, which we are learning today. Schedule means timeline. You're going to define the timeline, which is more effective. Also, you can bring people on the same page and requirement becomes more clear. So having a project management, having a business analysis makes more sense. If you are a good project manager or if you're a good business analyst, then you make project very successful. People hire you as an insurer because they know that your necessary skills and expertise, which will help project as well as team to be on the same page. you kind of clarify, you can break it down, you can kind of create a manageable timeline, you communicate people effectively, you kind of clarify and provide energy among the group. If you remove the project management, means PM/BA, then most likely project will fail. Because people might rush in without planning. And without planning, if you do, you most likely gonna fail, right? Now, if you scroll down, every time when you start, know yourself first. And this is very important. I always tell people, and this is one of my project manager, Glenn Goldman, used to say that. Glenn Goldman said that if somebody is saying 5 times and you're not doing that, it means you have a problem. If somebody is saying 5 times and you're not doing your problem. So he always tells that everyone has a 2 type of skill. One is called hard skill and one is a soft skill. As a business analyst, as a project management, you need to have both skill, hard skill and soft skill. Soft skill means how you interact with people, how you present, how you communicate, how you negotiate, how you lead, how you inspire, how you energize. That's a soft skill. It's very easy to learn. But hard skill is about like how to create project charter, how to create a project plan, how to create project schedule, how to create certain type of Jira or certain type of business case. Where you need tools and technology, it's a hard skill. Many people struggle in a hard skill because they don't do experience work. If you don't do experience work, somewhere you will have trouble because in an interview, people will try to evaluate your soft skill and hard skill. So if your soft skill is visible, they will say you are non-technical. And if your hard skill is visible, then you're saying you're more technical. You need to have balance. If you're balanced, then you're called techno manager or techno BA. You make more salary, you will have higher profile and high respect in your organization. If you start with the label non-technical, then between you and between any type of business analyst, there is no difference. So example, if somebody says like, I'm working for McDonald's and I'm a manager, that person and you, there won't be much difference if you're using soft skill. But if you're using hard skill, example Jira, example database, example UML, example planning, example Microsoft project, example Excel, if you're using the hard skill, you're creating now differences. Make sense? So know yourself where you are, because you need to use that skill for your project. If you do not know, you need to partner. You need to partner with someone to bring some associate person who can backfill that skill. So that's the reason project managers may have a very good skill, but may not know how to collect the requirement, may not know how to engage the stakeholder, may not know certain type of planning and estimate. That's why they hire first you. So you will be the hire first. Once you hire, your goal is to do research, which we call collecting requirement. So first you do collect requirement, then you do estimations, right? And then you do design. And now when you are doing estimations and design, during this exercise, you are also going to do planning. So that's what we are going to cover today, planning aspect. Make sense? So research means how long, how much will it cost, how many resources we need. Now, when you set the goal, that's a long-term goal when the project delivery date will be, which we call release or launch date. Define a goal when we will have a release. When are we going to release the product to customer or market, right? You have to have that date. See, those people who define that in July or June or March, I want job, then they will do backpress and they will work very hard. The people who do not define goals, I can give you guarantee, they will not have a job. And second thing, they will not have a hard work. Why? Because for them, any job is better. Any job is better. But when you are working on a project, you have to define project specific goal, that what we should be done, particular date and time. And then these require planning. Make sense? In order to reach that goal, you require planning. So it's very important you build those muscles. And the most important muscles you can build with your small exercise. My manager used to say that no one will give you millions of dollar project if you do not have appetite to manage $1,000. Make sense or not? So millions, most of the projects you are going to manage will be at least $50 to $100 million projects. The reason people will pay you 100,000 because the projects are most likely that expensive. A $50 million project you are managing, then during interview they might sometime ask about your, hey, do you like finance? And they may ask some kind of question, what's the APR, what's the bonds versus stocks, what's the mutual fund? And if you say, I don't know, I don't like it, it means you don't like finance. Because project is all about finance, right? Because you're spending, right? You're spending. So you need to understand about a little bit financing, because you need to monitor your project budget. So there are a couple of words you need to understand. First, you will do budget, right? And then you will do estimation, and then you do variance here. So we'll talk next week. So budget part we'll talk next week. So again, those are technical terms. So they will drill you in your interview about, hey, how you manage, because if you start the project management will give you some budget which you have to spend. Now, how are you going to manage it? Because your people will burn your dollar every day. Burning rate will be there. How much they're burning, and how much your monthly budget. How would you monitor? How would you measure? And those are the important part for the project management. Good news: time management and cost management, they're almost same. Time management and cost management is almost same. So if you know one, you already know other, right? So
Are we
that's
going to do it today?
Sorry?
The time and cost management.
Time management, which is we are going to do here, and the cost management will do next week, right? But they are using the same tool, Project Libre. So we'll be doing the Project Libre to make sure we know how to monitor, we know how to measure, and we know how to manage it. And that's what the planning is. Good. Now, there's a secret of success of any project. If you want to be successful in any project as a business analyst / as a project manager, first know your customer. In our case, we call stakeholder. So who are stakeholders? Who are stakeholders?
Anybody that will have any impact from the project or has any
Very good.
interest.
Very
the
good.
project.
So any person or group who has interest in project success or project failure. Anyone who has interest in project success or failure can be a stakeholder. There are two types of stakeholder: internal and external. Internal, they are working for a company. External, they're outsider. You need to make sure you address their need. If you don't address, they will bite you. Second thing, make sure you understand the project objective. That type of things will be listed in project charter. If you remember, project charter is one-page document. Project charter is one-page document. That document covers like high-level timeline, high-level scope, high-level cost, high-level risk, high-level budget, all kind of things there. So make sure you understand what are the deliverables and what are the due dates. Project schedule, role and responsibility. You need to know who are in your team, what they're going to do, right? You also need to know about project budget, which we talk about and we'll talk next week. Communication plan. How are you going to communicate with your stakeholder? Who will receive what and when? So communication means very simple. Who will receive what and when, and what format they will receive. So example, if you're talking to your team member, maybe you will talk to daily. If you're talking to your manager, maybe you will talk to weekly. If you're talking to project sponsor, maybe a monthly. When you're talking to C executive, you might be talking like a quarterly. And when you talk to C executive, you're not going to email them, you're going to do formal presentation. But when you talk to your team member, you're not going to do presentations, you may be doing email. So who receive it, what they receive it, when they receive it, what format they will receive, that's called communication plan. You need to make sure you are agreed upon that communication plan. So that's very important. So everyone knows the progress and project update. You need to make sure they're up to speed with the project and progress update. And tracking your tools, tracking your progress, time-wise, cost-wise, quality-wise, scope-wise, risk-wise, you need to monitor. Because many times people don't monitor. I like school days, right? In school days, your teacher gives you homework. And if you don't do homework, you will get a bad grade. And if you don't do 3 times, your parent will be invited for discussion, right? And it was wonderful. I thought that taught me a lot, that homework is important. But trust me, it really taught me a lot, and that really helped. Many times when I see my young staff members who come from the schools and they studied here, wonderful discipline. One thing I notice is the students who studied here, they bring a lot of discipline, and I give full credit to the school, because from school they teach them like the homework, the planning, the goal, the objective. If your grade goes down, then they will have action plan, the reaction, everything. I have seen my kids doing that, and I thought, wow, I did not do that. But the kids are so mature. When they go to at least high school level, they're at project level knowledge there. And when they go to college level, they're professional level. No wonder why they're getting job while others people are waiting, I didn't get a job. The reason they are getting job because they're so mature. So that is called tracking management tool. They already studied this thing for high school. And that is called basic skills we need to use. So in short, these 8 tips, if you follow that, most project will be successful. Out of 8, if I ask you to pick 1 or 2, which one you will pick? Out of 8, if I ask you, which one you think the most important skill or most important element for your project success?
Roles and responsibilities.
Okay, roles and responsibility will give everyone clarity about what they're going to do and what they're responsible for. Absolutely. Yeah, that's about that. Needs. So first important thing is we need to identify them. If our needs are not very clearly understood, then project will definitely fail, right? So we need to understand project stakeholder needs. Of course, we need to also understand budget aspect and schedule. So budget and schedule are always the hard cake in the project and interview. So needs, if you collect by requirement gathering, and schedule and budget, we're going to learn through project Libre. Make sense? Okay. Now we talk about that. So anytime when you start the project, if you are talking to a one person, that person might be right, but partially, right? So project is like an elephant. Project is like elephant that everyone will describe, but no one will be right. Why? Because they're describing from what they know, right? They describe based on what they know. Your role is to collect all the viewpoint, collect your viewpoint, and collectively describe the project name. So as a business analyst, you need to make sure you find all the people who are going to describe the project for you, and understanding their descriptions or view, then you holistically describe the project requirement. So as a business analyst, it's pretty interesting that everyone thinks I know everything, but they know the partial thing because they have seen from the window. They might have a view, but limited. Your goal is to bring that view and connect together and create a holistic view. And that skill, they don't have it. That's why they hire business analysts. So business analyst is not using bias. Bias means I work here, so I know everything. Business analyst is unbiased because business analyst will question and then try to understand holistically. Business analyst will not say you're wrong, but business analyst says this is also possible, right? And then these 7 or 8 people, business analysts will bring together for clarity. And that is what first thing called business need, stakeholder needs. So first of it. Now we talk about, so I'll skip this. Now let's jump into this slide. But before we jump into that, I want to just show you project charter. This is also a question in interview. People ask, who prepared the project charter? Who prepared the project charter?
Project manager.
So it is possible project manager may be preparing the project charter or project sponsor. Project sponsor. So project sponsor prepared the project charter. Now, when they prepare the project charter, they define the project name. They provide like tentative project start date and end date. So you have a timeline right there. You guys agree? They also write the name of the project manager. They write the name of the project manager, means this person will get authority. This person will get authority to execute the project. Now the sponsor name is also here. Business name, high level business name. Project scope means what are the things we're going to do part of the project. What are the things we're going to deliver part of the project. And what are the risks and issues we have. Current issue and assumptions. High level financial. So dollar also you have high level here. And then your stakeholder. All your, so here timeline and here your stakeholder. So if you think about that, if you are project charter, then you have high level lens about project. How long will it take? How much it will cost? How many resources you have? Whom you're going to work with? Who is your manager? Why are we doing the projects? Everything you will have. So if you start a business analyst role, you may want to ask, hey, can you give me a project charter? I want to learn more about it. Because project charter will give you clarity about why business invest money in this project. Make sense? As a business analyst or as a project manager, the first thing you do is look for project charter. This will give you enough clarity. Why? Because if you are saying the project will start on March and it will end in August, can you do the project which estimation will take 3 years? Can you do the project estimate that it will cost you $3 million? when the project itself is $3,000, right? So you do have a parameter here. You can go plus and minus, but you cannot go 3 times or 4 times. Makes sense or not? So timeline is here, budget is here, your high-level scope is here, you have deliverable here. So this is your starting point. But when you join it, you want to reconfirm that. Is this right? If it is not right, if you get opportunity, make sure you adjust it. Make sure you make the necessary improvement or correction. Because what if the person who prepared, after that 3 months pass? So now needs might have changed, scope might have changed, deliverable might have changed. In that case, risk, everything will change. It's a good idea to revise this document and make sure the document remain a working document, because there are certain things will force your timeline and there are certain things will force your cost also. Make sense or not? See, many times people are afraid. In a real life, when they go, they're afraid. What if they feel bad? You shouldn't be afraid, because it's your role to give a clarity. If this old document has old date and then new requirement requires new date, it's your role to modify. Make sure you communicate. Good news, you have a stakeholder name here. You talk to them and say, guys, I'm making these changes. Are you guys okay with that? And then get the baseline. But this will be a starting point for you. Once you start from there, then you start the project plan. Good. Now, as we go further, every project will have a lot of activities. Yes or no? So now I need to cover a lot of definitions for you. So I'm going to go with the first thing about project activity. So let's talk about certain terms so you will understand. Let me use some drawing, because that way it will be better. So if you think project is like rectangle like this, please pay attention. If project is a rectangle like this, then inside the rectangle, these are big component or category. Make sense or not? So anytime when you start a project, you define high level category. So example, if I'm leading a project for iPhone, then one category may be touchscreen, one may be camera, one may be software, one may be other applications, one may be a battery, right? So define the component or category. So there's a normal tendency that people divide the project into 2 forms. They use component, they use a component, and component normally are deliverables. Components are normally deliverables. Deliverables means you deliver to the customer. Or they use normally category. Now, category perspective, they use I, P, E, C, C. It's kind of PMP type of terminology, but it is very popularly used in business term also. So initiation. So you start with initiation category, planning, execution, control, and closing. So this is the category. Now, no matter what you do, either you start project with the category or you can start project with the component, but you have to start planning project like that. So first you take a project, divide the project in a component form or deliverable form, or you can use project in a category form. So far so good. Now try to put in a visual form. So let me.
The last one is closing or
this one closing. So this is the control and closing. So you're closing this thing. So closing.
These are the phases of a project.
This is the category or phases. Yeah. So you're closing the project. So or component form or deliverable form. So now let me go back to the slide. I'll show you so you will understand. I'll come back to the slides. So where did it go? Let's keep this. Maybe here 1 second. So you will understand in a second. Yeah, this one. So this is very important slide. In your interview, you may be asked 1 or 2 questions. So first of all, this is the project name, right? And here we are talking about component, project management, requirement, design, construct, and that or category, right? So you define this thing. This is called high level category. So here they have defined in the slide, we are defining project management requirements. So here the BA manage this component. PM may be managing this component or category. The architect may be managing this thing. Developer may be doing this thing, and integrators are doing this part, right? So that's a high level project category. Now in that category, you see there are levels are there. So please pay attention. There are certain definitions I'm going to explain. So anytime when you have project, all actions or scope, project all scope, if you present in this kind of graphs, this is called graphical representation, then this is called WBS. Speak with me. WBS. WBS means work, breakdown, structure. WBS means work, breakdown, structure. Work means, like example, this project, we cannot break it down into this form, that this is the project management form, this is BA, this is architect, this is developers, this is it. And these are all part of the main category or component. Main category or component. So far so good. So the way it works is, this is the master, which is the project. Then project is divided into category or component, and then it will be subcategory, subcomponent, and then at the last piece, which call work package. What we call work package. So people will ask in interview, what is work package? So work package is normally a 40 hours work. How many hours of work? 40 hours work. 40, or around 40 hours work. It can be 32 hours, but it may not be 2 hours work. It will be package. Package means collection of work, collections of work. So work package. So it's a good idea to take a project and break it down project into subcategory, and then subcategory can be subcategory. But the last, whatever you see here, it's called work package. Make sure you understand this is called work package. Make sense? So what is work package? Work package is around 32 to 40 hours of work. 32 to 40 hours of work. Most people make mistake in interview. People ask, did you prepare work WPS? They say yes. And they say, what is the last leaf node? What is the last leaf node? And what they're going to say? In real life, what they're going to say? Activity. If you say activity, then you are not doing right. The WBS, the last thing is the work package. So work package. Package means group. Work package. Work package. So let's understand first. Project has subcategory. So let me give you an example. So it will be more easier. Make sure you
does the activity stand in that?
That is, I'm coming. I want you to first focus on what I'm explaining, because otherwise you will make more mistakes that other people are making as well, right? So first of all, your project. So let's say example, I'm doing a website. In website, I'm creating a project, and now let's say I'm doing, let's say UI. UI is a category. UI stands for user interface. So I create a category called user interface, like that. Make sense? That's category. And let's say another category, let's say example, development category. So I'll say coding for development. Now, if I say UI UX, now in that I create a small work package. So what is work package means? I'll give you example so you will understand what I'm talking about. So here I'll say wireframe. Wireframes. Now the website has a 5 pages. How many pages? 5 pages. So wireframe will create a 5 pages. Okay. Now let's say here I'm creating a web pages here. It means I have 5 pages I'll create. Now in a what do you call that, WBS, you are linking this way, right? You're linking this, but these are not activity. But these item I can further divide into activity. Make sense? So each work package can have multiple activities. Each work package can have multiple activities. So when you talk about WBS, you talk about only up to work package. We talk about work package. Make sense or no? Now, what is work package? It's a collection of activities. but you are not going to grassroots level, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. You're not going. You're going up to 32 hours or 40 hours like that. Why? Because you don't want to go to grassroots level. Now, please understand, when you do work package, please understand, when you do work package, this work package, when you combine this work package, please understand, when you combine this work package, this will become a control unit. Speak with me.
Control unit.
Control unit. This is very important for you as a business analyst and PM, because you will be funding these works based on these categories. So if your accounting people ask how much money we spend, so you need to tell, for UI UX, I've spent this much money. So this is your control account. Control account means you are going to tell about these activity I spent this much money. Make sense? So as a project management perspective, as a business analyst perspective, WBS is very important. And that is what we're going to learn in Project Libre. Make sense? So let's get started. We will install Project Libre first, and then I'll show you step by step. This entire WBS, Project Libre will create for us. Project Libre will create for us, yes.
Could you say the definition of control unit?
Control unit is like a unit where all your collections of work packages will become a control unit. Or you can say a node above work package will become a control unit. So all those work packages will be part of the control unit. So when you spend money, you're spending to the control unit. So you are saying this is the account I'm spending. UI UX, I'm spending this. Development, I'm spending this.
Then what is the difference between category and that? Because we divided this in categories.
Category is the language from WBS perspective. But accounting perspective, this category is known as a control unit or account control account or account control. Basically, funding will be given based on these categories, subcategory. They will not talk about website because website are subdivided into these categories. Each category you will spend, I have planned this budget and I spend this much. Make sense? Okay. Now, everyone, let's go to a website and download Project Libre so we can have that software installed on our machine. So go to Google, right? Project Libre. Project Libre.
It's not a cloud software.
No, it's not a cloud software. Project Libre. Right? So go to Project Libre and then download it. Now, if you click on here, you're going to click on here and you can download this thing. So first you will go to Project Libre and then you click here. And now you download the Project Libre. So if you click on, this is very similar to Microsoft Project. It is free. So you can use it as long as you want. So click on it. Now, when you click on here, please understand Project Libre. There is a community version is free. So you can download community version is free. So when you download, make sure you download community version. Otherwise, it might have expiry date and cost associated. But community version is free. So you can click on that and just download it. So when you click on it, please follow. Please follow. When you click on it, then you will download the button. Download. And it will start downloading. Just click on the download and you will follow the button. It may take a couple of minutes and start downloading for you. Just wait for a few minutes and it will start downloading for you. And it is loading. You can see that in a few seconds, download starts and it's downloading. So it started downloading.
It's done, but how do I just open it from here?
Go to download folder. Yeah, you go to download folder. Just a little bit patient because it may take a couple of minutes. So now the software we downloaded, it may take a few minutes to download the software. Once you download the software, your software will be in your download folder. So right now it's still downloading. It may take a couple of minutes. And once you download, Project Libre will be in your machine. It may take a few minutes to download because its software is a little bit, you can see here, it's almost 600. Right? some reason it failed for me. But I already have downloaded it. But you can download. Did you download completely?
Yeah.
Okay. So those who download completely, once you download it, you just install it. It may take a couple of minutes to install the software. So once you download it, you just double click on that and install the software. And follow the next, and you can install the software. Follow the next, and you can install the software. Give me thumbs up if you have installed the software. Give me thumbs up if you have installed this software. Very good. Thank you, Mike. Good. That's all. Now, if you search project, you will see the project Libre in your machine. So now click on the project Libre. So once you download it, search project. When you search project and you click on the project Libre. So click on the project Libre. Now I'm going to open the project Libre. This is very simple software. If you follow me, you will really do a good job because it's practical, just like Excel type of thing. It's very practical, step by step. You can follow that. So I'm going to do project Libre, and I'm going to click on the project Libre. So if you open it, screen will show up. My machine is taking a lot of time. So now I'm going to click on that, and project Libre is open. Can I click on it? Project Libre. Yeah. Okay, now it's opening. So as I open the project Libre, I'm going to close this thing. So my project Libre will open in a few seconds. So you will see that. It's coming. Yeah. So I am able to see something like this. This software is very similar as Microsoft project. However, there are certain features are not there. Don't worry about it. If you see something like this, you just need to click on X and X out. Make sure you follow the flow. Click on X so you can X out. So when you click on X, X out, so now you will have two options. We are going to create a project. Make sure you understand as a business analyst, you have to do estimation, how long and how much with your requirement gathering details. So that's why we are doing this thing. So BA normally play a role as a PM. So as a project manager, as a business analyst, as a program manager, as a Scrum master, you got to know how to plan. And this tool is a wonderful tool. You may like it. So create a project. So let's click on a project. So when you create a project, the first thing you write a project name. So we are going to create a project. Let's say example, I'm going to create my application. So we'll say my web application. My web application. So in my web applications, like example, what are the things I'm going to do? I'll write down my manager. Let's say my manager name is Tom. Now there are two types of estimation. Again, in interview question, there are two types of estimation. One, you start and you find all the way to end. This is one way, which is called forward scheduling. Forward scheduling means you start and you're moving towards a final goal. That's called forward scheduling. This is ideal. Majority projects follow this way. But there is another one, it's called reverse, which is called backward scheduling. Backward scheduling means your management will give you date and you have to meet the date and now start planning. So forward scheduling versus backward scheduling. Forward scheduling is one of the most popular one, but there are pressure-wise. People also do backward scheduling if there is a compliance issue, if there is some special stress coming or some pressure coming, then people do backward scheduling. In that case, you write end date first and then start doing reverse planning, right? Most people like forward scheduling, but there are cases you do backward scheduling. Now here, it's a good idea to write a little bit high level goal. So you can write goal is to deliver web application for e-commerce initiative. It's some goal. why we are doing this project. So write some goal. We deliver a web applications for e-commerce initiative. So basically, the way company does, company define first of all strategy, and in strategy they will have initiatives. Strategy there will be initiatives, and in initiatives there will be projects. Sometimes we call programs, and initiatives are nothing but program. So strategy will go to program or portfolio, whatever we call, and the program will be divided into projects. So one initiative may have many projects. So whenever you say ecom initiative, which is nothing but program, it means that ecom initiative may have similar projects like this. Okay. Now let's click on OK. Let's click on OK. As you click on OK, everything will be like this. Let me know if you're able to see screen like this. Right? Everyone is there? Awesome. Now, there are a few things you want to understand before we start this thing. First thing first, this is the menu. So whenever I say menu, make sure your cursor goes here. This is the ribbon, right? You can see ribbon. So when I click here, all those sections will change, right? If I click here, the task ribbon will change. If I click here, so ribbons will change as I click on my menu. Now, this area is our master area where we will be working mainly. And this is where the chart will happen automatically. There are a lot of definitions I will be covering, which will be useful for your interview. Trust me, you cannot memorize this. You need to understand it. And the best way to do understand is you do small project. And I humbly request that the people who do project a little bit homework will remember it. Because just to give idea, one day training, I charge $800 for this tool. Just one day training, just one day, I charge $800. Why? Because that is so important. Many people don't even know this thing. But if you don't practice, you will not use the value of this. You will be afraid in interview to even use the name. Why? Because you don't know, right? But if you know it, you can proudly say that this is, I know, this is the skill people are looking for, right? So that's the reason we are covering that part of business analysis. As a BS/PM, both group can get benefit. So here, this is the action item. These are the rows. So here you will have a row ID in a few minutes. You will see that, and these are called columns. So these are row and these are column. This column can be configurable, so we can add columns and all nice thing can do. Now, please understand, when you start this first thing, you write a main heading, and then you write a subheading. Then you write like this, this. So if you are under this alignment, so that called subheading, and this is called subheading. So this three activity is part of this, and this can be many activity like this, right? And you can combine this activity as a part of this activity. So this activity and this activity can be part. So because of parent-child relationship. So we're going to do it so I can show you. So first we're going to do a little bit what you call trial run. So let's get started. So in order to do trial run, right here project lifecycle. First we'll do trial run, so you will appreciate what I'm trying to say. So project lifecycle, I just have a heading. Now let's say I want to create a category. Let's say planning category, and then I can say design category. So planning and design category. So here you can understand planning and design category. So if you see here, they are both in a same line. They all are in same line. So no one is parent, no one is child, right? Makes sense or no? So in order for me to make this them child, please pay attention. What I need to do is I need to click on task first. Click on tasks. Make sure you click on task. So when you click on task, you can see now indentation. Now click on these two rows. You can click on this row. You can hold shift button. First click number 2 and hold shift button so it can select both. So let me repeat. You just click on this thing. Make sure you see on the screen. Click on this and the hold shift button and click on this. And then do indent. So when you do indent, now they become a child activity. Make sense? So I selected these two rows and then I click on indent. Sorry, my mistake. I click on indent. So when I click on indent, it pushed a little bit. And you can see that this become a parent, you can with the icon, and suddenly these two items are here. And you can see this activity becomes like a summary activity. So far, so good. We just highlighted and then we tab it. We didn't do any magic here. People on phone, just give me thumbs up if you're able to do so. Good. Only Michael and Rachel is doing. What about others? Arjuna? Good, good. Thank you. Hitesh, you've been quiet. Are you doing anything? Okay, good.
No, I'm watching. I'm totally on this.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now, please understand. Please understand. Hello. It's okay. You can watch the recording later. Make sure you see here. These question mark is a sign of we have not calculated. Make sure everything you understand here. Because see, some of you are having computer problem, don't worry about, but understand is important. So if you show somebody with a question mark, your impression will be almost zero. It means you need not calculate it. Think about half-cooked food you're delivering to customer. So anytime when you do the summary, please understand. If you're a child and this is the parent, you never estimate the summary. This is the summary activities. So summary activity you never estimate. You only estimated child, but these are not child, these are category. But the category doesn't have a task. So how do I add task? Please see on the screen. So if I want to add task, please see here. I want to add a task for planning, then I'm going to select this row and I can say right click, please follow, right click and say new. Please follow, right click and new. Make sure everyone does that. So select design, right click, new, and it will create more empty cells. See if you can create multiple cells. Again, just we are learning trial and error type of thing. So we created empty cells. So what I did, I highlighted design, right click, new, and then I created a space. Makes sense or not? Now, in the planning, let's say I want to do task 1, task 2, task 3. So I created 3 tasks, but they are all in the same level. So that's not good. So what I need to do, I need to highlight row number 3 and then draw up to 5. You can just draw like that and it will automatically select 3 rows. Check it out. Make sense or not? And then you go and indent. So you can highlight this thing. Make sure you do that and click on indent. So when you indent it, now you will see here, this will become a summary activity and this will become a child activity. So indent. Pretty good. So now you can see here, this is the parent, this is the sum, and this is the task. Make sense? This one is also thing. So if I minimize this, you will see what I'm talking about. So these two are part of this one. And if I expand that, this is the part of this one. I can do the same thing here for design task 4 and task 5. So task 4 and task 5, these are tasks. If I highlight this, and what should I do? Indent. Pretty easy, right? Indent. And now you can see task. This one is also summary activity. This one is summary. But here you can see still I have 1, 1, 1. So here the unit is by default unit is D. D means day. D means day. So if I say here, let's say task 1 is 2 days, so I'll say 2D, then this portion will increase to a little bit bigger, so 2D. And here let's say for D, so you can see that it is increasing. Here you can say 3D, so increasing. And this one is let's say 5D, so I'm just making up. And this is let's say 6D. You might notice that as I entered, my question mark disappeared. Did you notice that? As I entered, automatically summary calculated and question mark disappeared. When question mark disappeared means I calculated the estimation. I calculated the estimation for this activity. And the summary activity find out of available tasks, which one is the longest task. And based on that, summary activity calculate automatically its task. So you can see I have 4 days task. So summary activity automatically calculate the 4 days task. Here, 5 and 6, out of that one task is bigger, summary activity is 6 days. Now this activity is summary and this activity is summary. Out of this, which activity is bigger? This one. So then master activity is like that, 6 days. So it automatically calculate the hours. Make sense? There are a lot to cover, but right now it's 8 o'clock, so we'll take a small break. Yes.
Why wouldn't it add it? Because they're all the tasks, right? They all need to be done. Why wouldn't it? Why would it just take the longest 1? Why wouldn't it add like 2 plus 4 plus?
No, it doesn't add like that. Hello, you didn't get it, what I explained. See here,
I saw that, but my question is, all these tasks have to be done, right? They come under that.
ask yourself question, what is parallel versus what is total?
Okay.
So these are 3 people. This is
Okay.
2 people.
Okay.
So these are total 5 people are working. So now would you take 10 days or would you take 6 days? Right?
Yeah.
So make sure we understand, right? It's not like a common here. Here people are working, that are working differently. So these people will be done in 3 days. These people will take like a 6 days here. So the maximum time it takes 6 days. We have not started yet. I will cover that, all those things, how to tune, how to optimize and all. It will take me 1 hour. So let's take a small break. After break, we cover. Welcome back. Okay, so far everyone is with me. Everyone, so far so good. Okay, so we have Arnold, Ashna, Bill. Okay, this good, perfect. So now let's continue. Now we'll have fun. Okay, make sure you understand. This is going to be interesting, right? And stop me anytime if you are feeling like, oh, I'm not very clear. So please stop me anytime. So as you notice that we have created this dummy task. Please understand, this can be 100 tasks, or it can be 50 tasks, it can be 5 tasks. And this category which we are doing, you can have, category can have subcategory also. So you can create that. You just need to do indent. So if you do indent, that will become a category. So example, if I want to create this one as a category and others are subcategory, I just need to click on this and just do indent. So I just click this row. And if I indent it, then task 2 will become a category. Check it out like that. Make sense? So you can have, see, this is the main has 2 subcategory and sub has subcategory. You can have that category. So you can minimize that like that. And you can see how simple it is. And if you minimize, it will be 1 line. So this is the work breakdown structure. So you can see that everything is broken as a work. Now, real task or activity is this thing. Real task and activity is this. These, the category which we see here, these are called summary. These are not really tasks, it's grouping, it's a logical grouping. So project Libre gives you a very nice thing called WBS graphical representation. So click on it. And when you click on it, it does give you graphical representations. You can see here nicely graphical representations. And here I was talking about that this last item is called work package. Last item is a work package, and work package aggregated as a control account. So control account is a node which is above the work package. So here, this is work package, and this is the control account. And here, this work package, but this is the control account. So you can create that control account. Control account is just about the work package. So you can see how nicely we represent it. Make sense? So it's a very simple graphically you can represent your things when you click on WBS, right? So WBS allows you to create that graphical representations. Just to give idea, we are learning. So our activities are only 6, 7. But in a real project, this can be go to 100 to 1000. And when you go to 100 to 1000 activity, it's a good idea that you create in a category. Because when you are in a status meeting, you're not going to show 100 or 1000 activities. You may want to show something which is manageable. So if I go back to, from WBS, if I want to go back, I'm going to click on a Gantt chart. So click on a Gantt chart. So when you click on Gantt chart, you can see all those things here. Now, let's say I made a mistake. I say, no, this should not be a category. This is supposed to be activity. In that case, I select that row and outdent, because I made a mistake. I did indent. So indent allows task 3 to go down, but I can outdent. So check it out. If I do task 3, which is some reason I have pushed into task 2, this one I have accidentally put in task 3, and this become a category. So I select that and I outdented. So now you can see it back to normal. So this is nice activity, and this is your work package. So far so good. Now, any questions so far? Because I will be covering around 10 plus definition, which will be very important. First question, why this is red color? Why other activity is blue color and this is red color?
Because it's the longest.
Very good. So this is called critical path. Always ask in interview, critical path. Critical path. Every project management and every business analyst interview, you will be asked critical path. So what is critical path? The longest path, longest path, right? So from here to here, project completion is the longest duration and shortest path. Longest duration and shortest path to reach the destination. That's the critical path. However, here we have only one activity, so that's shows red. But if there are activities are in steps like this, and if combine that, it's the longest duration and shortest path, then that is also called critical path. Here we have one activity, but there will be a group of activity which is combination will become together as the longest path. So let me show you so you'll understand what I'm talking about. So please understand. See here, if I want to show, please see here. If I want to show the task 5, I cannot start. I cannot start until I complete task 4. If I want to show that I cannot start task 5 unless I complete task 4. So in that case, I go to task 5 predecessor, and I can say these predecessors is this row, which is in our case it is 7. So if I say 7, it means I'm saying start task 5 only if task 4 is complete. So here if I write 7, it means I'm saying there is a dependency between these two activities. So why don't you write 7 and see what happens? So you can see now it is sequential activity. When you write 7, you're saying that this activity has to complete. It means task 4 has to complete in order to start the task 5. This is called relationship between two activities. So activity 1 and activity 2 has a relationship. So here it's a finish to start. Finish to start. So that is the activity we have. Finish to start. Finish to start. So far so good. Finish to start. Any questions so far? Can I do the same thing? Can I do this at task 3 can only complete if task 2 and task 1 is complete? Can I do that? Task 3 only can complete when task 1 and task 2. Yes, Rachel.
Can you repeat what the critical path is again?
Critical path means longest duration and shortest path. So this is the longest durations. And shortest path means if I finish this, I can get the project. But longest duration and shortest path, that's the critical path. So in easy language, if all activities included, if you do sum, this activity, they are not having total sum, which is this sum is highest sum. So here, whatever, let's example 6 days, here 5 days, total 11 days. And that is highest than this, any of this available. So you have to create calculations. And if your calculation, the number is highest, that activity will become a critical path. So if duration, remember these are durations. So longest durations, 5 plus 6, 11. Longest duration and shortest path from start to end. Longest duration and shortest path start to end. That's called critical path.
Why is it shortest path? Like what?
Because if you walk through here, you will reach to the end. If you walk here, you will not reach to the end. So that's why longest duration, but shortest path to reach to the end. Make sense? Now, if you, let's say if I want to make task 3, if you want to make task 3, which is depend on task 1 and task 2. So what am I going to write here? What should I write?
Task 3 depends on task 1 and 2.
Yeah. So what
We
should I
write 3 and 4.
So we write 3, 4. So 3, 4. And you can see right now 3, 4. It's still blue color. Why blue color? Because from here to here, if you do addition, they're still not greater than this duration. Make sense? But I will show you something you may be surprised. Let's say some reason I realize I made a mistake. It should not be 3 days, it should be 13 days. So what will happen? Critical path will change. Do you guys agree? Say yes or no. It's okay to say yes. Yes, and check it out. Did it? So what it does is basically it is checking which activity. So it see this is not a red, but this one is red. Why? Because if I use this and this, then it's not getting. But if I do this, this is the longest I get, right? So red color means critical path. In easy language, from project when I start to project end, this path will take me to the fastest way. Fastest. So if I take some stop here, and if I say 2 days delay, will project will be delayed or not? If I take in critical path, let's say I have 11 days. In critical path, I have 11 days. But let's say if I take a small break, and I say I want to take a 2 days break, will my project finish on time or my project will be delayed by 2 days?
Delayed.
It will be delayed by 2 days. And that's why it is called critical path. Here, you are not allowed to take any break. If you are a manager and if you want to monitor, you only monitor this critical path because this is high risk. If something goes wrong, project will fall behind. Make sense or not? But if this activity behind, no problem. You know why? Why? If this activity is behind, you don't have a problem.
They can be done again.
Because there is a lot more leg room there, lot more buffer room is there. Do you guys agree or not? Buffer. Do you guys agree? Because this activity is not pushing your end date. This is a lot of floating area. So this is called float. So what is float? Float means, listen carefully, definition. An activity can be delayed. An activity can be delayed without delaying the project end date. An activity can be delayed without delaying the project end date. So here, please see here. Please understand. If this is total 13 days and this is 6 days. So what is the floating you have? 7 days is the floating. It means I can delay this activity for 7 days and project will not be late. So that's called float. So your float is 7 days. Good thing, bad thing. Right? So most managers try to give a reasonable schedule. Reasonable schedule means this is called back-to-back schedule. You guys agree? Back-to-back schedule means when this complete next start. But what if this activity takes a little longer? Then your risk, right, project will be delayed. Otherwise, you have to squeeze this activity a little faster. There are only two options you have, right? If first activity takes longer, then second activity is going to be pushed, or second activity has to be compressed. Do you guys agree or not? Am I making sense or not? Let me repeat one more time. See, these are the questions will give you higher margin in the interview because these are looks simple but very tough. Let me repeat again. If you're not very clear, please ask. Because this is not action, this is more understanding. Because if you do not know this thing, you cannot run the show. You cannot run the real projects. That's why it is called critical path. So whenever a critical path is there, you do need to monitor it. But here what happens, this activity stop, other activities start. Do you have float here? Yes or no? No. So now this activity complete and it means whatever resources needed here and whatever resources is needed here instantly should be available. And if they take 6 days, what will happen?
It will be delayed.
Right? So in that case, what is your risk mitigation? How would you mitigate the risk?
Have extra resources.
So, and that is what your interview answer. So one thing, you have multiple resources, have similar skill. So if one person is not available, other person can pick it up. What others? What other options you have? Clearly, speak up clearly.
More time.
Can't get more time. Remember, you get fired in the real life. Make sense or no? If you're delayed by day or two, you get fired. So this is very risky. That's why it's called critical path. So asking extra day is not going to happen.
Then working overtime.
So there is another option, working overtime. But if you work overtime, what will happen? It will increase your cost. That may not be the good option. Do you agree or not? In America, rule is if you work standard hours, please pay attention. If you work standard hours, you make $100. But if you work overtime, you make 150. So it will burn your budget much faster because they give you 1.5 times, which is $150. Make sense? What else? What other options we have? People on phone, you should be creative. Come on, it's okay to speak up. Remember, more you speak, more you will remember. What else you can do?
If there is no dependency, then we can have parallel work, something like that.
So no, but you have to tell me how you can do that.
We only do the priority, like high priority.
Here in this context, tell me what you're gonna do, because there is nothing called priority defined here. So what should we do? Come on, there are a lot of options. Yes, Bill, go ahead.
Can you allot the resources from the other task to this
Very
task?
nice, very nice. You can say, guys, you're done here. Can you start working here? So if they work, two people work. This is called compression. The compression. So now suddenly this activity takes little less time because this resource can work. This guy, when he's done, I don't know what he's doing. He can also start working, right? Yes or no? And this guy, when he complete, he can start working. So this is called resource alignment. Resource alignment means you can reuse resource from one place to another place and you can be successful. Very good. What else we can do? What else we can do? Think about, guys. See, these are the questions people ask. So only person can answer a person who understands. There is nothing to memorize, right? And this is going to happen in your project. Trust me, every project goes through the same challenge. What else we can do? Right? So you put resources here. Another thing you can do is, rather than waiting for this activity to complete and start, maybe portion of this activity can be started a little bit early, right? And maybe portion of this activity can be divided and started a little bit early. That's called parallel start. So you don't have to have, like example, this activity looks like 8 days activity or 13 days activity, but doesn't mean all 30 days has to be sequential. Maybe 7 days you can do and then other activity can be sliced and create a parallel activity. If you do that, then you can do fast. For example, if you are taking class once in a week, right, it's going to take 8 weeks. But if you take 2 times, you make finish faster. So that's called parallel activity. So you can compress 13 days a little bit faster. People say, but I cannot do that. There got to be a way something can be done parallel or pre-work, post-work, right? Something can be done pre-work. Even 1 day activity saving will save your extra time. So think about the resource alignment, resource shuffling, like example. The resource whom you added here, please understand, the resource you added here, resource 1, is taking 13 days. But you have smart resource 5. If he works, he can do this thing in 3 days. So you may shuffle the resource. Because the smartest resource, if the person works, he can squeeze this activity. Make sense? So there are a lot of options you have. Adding more resources, adding overtime, adding parallel activity, adding resource shuffling, adding more resources, you can squeeze this. Make sense? So in interview, people will ask you such kind of scenario that some reason your project, and make sure you use this word critical path. If timeline is there, make sure you use word critical path, because then they will think you are a pro. So critical path will decide your project success or failure. That's why it's a critical. Because if you are behind in that path, or you're delaying 1 day in the critical path, it will push you behind. So you as a monitor, so you as a business analyst, you as a manager, you need to monitor this thing. Now, no matter what happens, you will try to either follow the critical path and deliver on time, or you kind of squeeze the critical path a little bit and deliver earlier, right? Now, question, can one project have multiple critical paths? What do you guys think? Can project have multiple critical paths? Yes or no?
Yes,
Why you think yes? That's a correct answer.
because it can be doing so many projects at the same time.
Yes, not only that, but
You can be doing different tasks at the same time.
yes. So if I do 11 here, let me do 13, maybe 12. So you can see I have two critical paths in front of you. Do you guys have? So can two projects have multiple critical paths? Answer yes. You can see that because this one creates 17 and this one also creates 17. So it's a critical path. Now the question, when you have multiple critical paths, project becomes risky or project becomes simpler? Project become more risky because now you are more careful because this thing should not slip, this thing should not slip. So you have to have status meeting, you have to make sure resources are aligned, make sure they are doing productive work. So more critical path means more risk right away. So as a good project manager, no matter what happens, you try to do one critical path. So what you want to do? Yes, Rachel.
Is it safe to say that having multiple critical paths could also make it difficult for a project manager to prioritize?
You can say that. Yeah, absolutely. It's not just for project manager, it is applied for everyone, including business analysts, including every team member, because they all are going to be micro monitored, right? Because if they're even behind for 1 hour, people will have panic button, right? Panic attack because, hey, why we are behind? So good manager, what they do, they see that these two activities are identical. They are taking around 17 days, right? So what you can do, good manager, listen carefully. There is one thing called critical path, which is called back to back, which look like a lot more artificial. So they do critical chain. So good manager will do critical chain. They will add a buffer activity somewhere. Buffer activity. So example, here it's a 5, but they will say it's a 7 days. So now you can see that one will become a critical path. One will become a critical path and other is not a critical path. Now they added 7, even though it was taking 5 days, they 7. Why? Because it gives you buffer. So critical chain is more realistic versus critical path. Critical path more artificial. So critical path does like number. So example, if I do, listen carefully, if I do 8 hours a day, 8 hours work a day, right? So in a week, how many hours I can work? 40. So will I have identical productivity in each hours? No, right? Plus and minus. And if I fast forward with 52 weeks, right? Will I have approximately 2000 hours with the same equal productivity? No, right? Yes or no? But critical path think that you will have the same productivity. Even you change the resource, even you change the day, because if you have a Super Bowl, people will go home early, right? Or if you have, let's say, like Valentine, people will go. So critical path does not consider real life. So that is the problem in critical path. Though every book says critical path is important, that is true, but critical path is not correct. So good project manager, before they talk to the management, how long will it take? So here, please see here, this how long will it take? They will not use critical path, they will add some buffer activity or dummy activity and create a critical chain. Critical chain means critical path with buffer or dummy activity to make it more realistic. And it is the longest path, right? And that is what you should talk to your management, that this project will take 19 days, not 17 days, because that 2 days will give you buffer. Now you can say, can I have 20 days? That's unethical. 2 days, you have to rational behind it. Why 2 days? Why not 1 day, right? So you have to have rational behind, maybe some vacation coming, Maybe your doubt that one activity may overslip, may take a little longer. So considering that your risk factor or confidence factor, you may want to give a little bit buffer activity. That's normal. Rather than telling people that I will do on 17 days and you deliver on 19 days, I would rather tell 19 days and deliver in 17 days, right? So you need to have a reasonable estimate. So critical chain allow critical path plus buffer activity or dummy activity, and then it creates critical chain, which is more realistic. It considers the resources are not infinite. It considers resources are not machine. It considers there are ups and downs in the productivity. So critical chain is more realistic versus critical path. Clear? Any questions? Good so far? Okay. Now, if you think about this activity, there is one thing called here duration. So there will be a question when somebody say the project will take 19 days. The project is going to take 19 days. What did you learn? What did you learn? It's okay to say something.
Repeat the question.
If someone says the project is going to take 19 days, what did you learn?
We can figure out how much it will cost, because if we know 19 days, we know how many resources. we're
Really?
doing.
Really?
When someone says it will take 19 days,
Uh-huh.
We need to find out why.
Okay, so let's go one by one. So yes, Bill, you were saying something?
The duration of the critical path is 19 days. The longest task with its predecessors will take that long.
No, that is true. But real this is 19 days. So now I want you to understand, this is, I learned in 2001, my manager taught me one thing. When somebody says it's going to take 19 days, you did not learn anything. You did not learn anything unless you ask question.
Hey, Tushar,
Yes, go ahead.
if the overall time period, the deadline, total time is going to take 90 days, then should we be investing in a task which is going to be done very early and it's not dependent on something else? Like the task 2 is fairly shorter. Why should
No,
I do it and invest in that upfront? Why can't I start that task at the end?
no. You can do that. Still, you cannot reduce 19 days because that's the reason it is critical path. You can do all dance around here. Nothing, it's not going to help at all. It's not going to help because critical path decides your project delivery date. So there is nothing much you can do. But my question remains is when somebody says that project is going to take 19 days, what did you learn? Technically speaking, nothing. Why? Because there is $1 million thing you need to understand is if somebody said that project is going to take 19 days, you need to ask one question. And the $1 million question is it effort or is it a duration? Effort versus duration. These are different. So what's the difference? What is effort and what is duration? How you differentiate?
Effort was like how we estimated points, which effort is hasn't been broken down into days
Ask
yet.
yourself question. Yeah, ask yourself question. How these resources who are working on a project, the resources working on a project, how many hours they're going to work? How many hours they're going to work?
8
8 hours, right? So if they want to work 8 hours, so in a day, I will have 24 hours. Do you guys agree or not? So in a day, I will have 24 hours, but the resource is working 8 hours. Is this 19 days is effort or duration? So if 19 days is effort, that has a different meaning versus 19 days is duration, is a different meaning. So if I work 8 hours, that's called effort. In a day, I have 24 hours, that's my duration. So in 24 hours duration, I work 8 hours. So if somebody says 19 days, they're referring duration. In duration, you might have working 1 minute. So example, if I'm going for doctor office, and in doctor office I'm waiting for 3 hours to get the opportunity to meet doctor, and then doctor spend maybe 1 hour with me, right? And now the visit complete. So 3 hours I waited, and then 1 hour doctor visited me. So total how many hours? 4. So if somebody say 4 hours to visit doctor, then my calculation will be different versus 1 hour doctor visit. Do you guys agree or not? Because doctor literally spent 1 hour with me. So what is the effort? 1 hour. But in order for me to get a doctor, 3 hours I waited and 1 hour of effort. So total duration was 4 hours. So when I went to doctor office, I went for 4 hours. But what was the doctor effort? Only 1 hour. So 19 days doesn't mean anything unless you understand it's a duration or effort. So here, is this a duration or effort?
So if we say the 19 days, I would say here it would be duration.
It is crystal clear here, duration.
Yes.
So what does it mean? It means somehow we need to have mapping, which is called work calendar. In this 19 days, are we working every hour, 24 hours, or 19 days we are working 8 hours only? If we are working 8 hours, and that is the hours you have really put effort. See the mathematics? Quite different. Do you guys agree or not? Because duration in a days, you are multiplying 24 hours. And duration on working hours, we call work calendar. 8 hours is the work calendar, and then you're multiplying by 8. So total hours will be significantly lower than duration. Make sense or not? So on surface, it looks like 19 days, but in a real effort, it is less hours. So it's always a good idea to tell people a clarity that this project duration is 19 days, but effort is this. Make sense? That gives more clarity. So example, if somebody says that how many weeks this BA will take? So BA will take, let's say I said 2 months. It looks 2 months, but if I say that you're coming 8 weeks and 3 hours each week, so total 24 hours. So you can see 24 hours gives me more clarity, but duration also give me longevity, right? So both is important, but only one doesn't give me any clue. Make sense or not? So 2 months is a duration, but 24 hours is effort. It means I will be in front of you in approximately 24 hours. Make sense? Why it is matter? Because if our customers like to squeeze duration, that's a different story versus squeeze effort. Make sense? So if someone wants to squeeze duration, you have a lot more time, lot more opportunity. Yes or no? Overtime is possible because we are just working 8 hours, 16 hours we are not working. We can outsource, right? We can co-source. We can have like contractor coming, near source, right? There are many ways we can do this project faster. If duration is a problem, so customers say, do whatever you can do, but I need my project in 5 days. So that time he is squeezing duration, not effort. Make sense? So now, the reason I'm trying to explain here is the 19 times 8 is your effort. If someone tried to squeeze that effort, then your question, why? Because that effort estimation is your baby. Duration is your opportunity. So anytime somebody say, can you have morning shift, noon shift, evening shift? Can you have like, offshore shift and nearshore shift? Those are opportunity. So today, most companies are going with that opportunity. So that's why they're squeezing duration, not effort. So right now, if I say 19 days, but if I'm working 2 shifts, listen carefully. Morning Chicago shift, let's say we work 8 to, let's say 4, and then evening shift, let's say India team works, then 19 days will become a 9 days. Do you guys agree? Because 2 shifts are working. So that equation is very important. This is where people make more mistake. That is the reason most companies are having offshore offices. They're squeezing duration because no one likes to take long. People like to finish faster, but they are not squeezing effort. And sometimes people don't understand and say, oh, he's squeezing my timeline. He's not really squeezing your timeline. He's saying you are taking longer. He's not saying you are costing more. He's not saying that. You're saying you're taking longer because 19 days look a lot bigger than 5 days. Make sense? Are we clear? So if, let me ask you a question this way. If I need to pay resource for 2 days, how much I'm paying? 48 hours, or I'm paying for 16 hours?
16.
So that's the effort. I'm not paying for duration. Are we clear? Yes, Bill.
I have a question. So listing in the column for duration, that is to assume it's based on effort, which would be 8-hour days.
Yeah, that's called work calendar. So work calendar. So what happened here? I'll show you. This concept is that calendar, and that's why in interview people ask you, and this is the only person will answer. A person who is a pro, a person who's just getting into the career will not be able to answer. So this is only person can answer because you are taking training with me. So make sure you pay attention. Okay, always pay attention because these kind of questions are very, very tricky. That's why remember this class, as I said before, I charge $800 per day per person. It's so expensive, right? The reason it is expensive because you can make it or break it. Majority people create a problem then solve it because calendar they don't understand. Now, Mansi, what are a calendar means to you?
The available the time available that to me. To
That's
work.
called availability, right? So what is calendar means? Availability, I can say, okay, I'm available in so and so time. But what is calendar means? It's important, right? So make sure you pay attention. So there are 3 calendars. There are 3 calendars. Okay, these are very profound thing. No one will explain this, but it's so easy. So what one calendar is a country calendar where they have national holiday. National holiday. One is called company calendar where they have company holiday and national holiday, right? And one is called resource calendar where the person is taking sick days, vacation or event or something like training. Now you need to consider all 3. Why? Because if you have a precedent day and if your day off, listen carefully. If your precedent day, what is when the precedent day is? Precedent day is when? February 20th? Oh my God. So let's check it out. So please understand, if this to date, there is a precedent day come, which is I believe 20, if I'm not mistaken. So when you are having a precedent day, that day, the calendar will skip and extend that. It will automatically skip. Why? Because national holidays are already known by the calendar. Make sense? If you try to ask somebody to work on Christmas Day, the calendar will not allow you. Make sense or not? So it's very important that you understand calendar. The calendar allows you 2 things. First, what is your working cycle? So are you starting days 8 o'clock? And are you stopping your start at 5? That means 1 day. So you're mapping your shift with the day. So when you say here, 1 day, you are actually mapping 8 hours. Makes sense? Because you have 1 shift. But it is possible some company may have 2 shifts. So 1 day means 2 shifts, 8 hours and 8 hours. So you can create a shift mapping, which is the calendar. This is the free version, so we don't have that much ability, but you can map that 1 shift equal to, 1 day equal to 8 hours. You can map. Some company, like example, I heard, and I can be wrong, some countries in Europe, they don't work 8 hours. They work only 5 hours. So their 1 day means 5 hours. I believe in Australia or somewhere, they only work 4 days a week, certain part. So then their 1 week equal to 4 days. So equation is very, because there is the company calendar. Make sense or no? Company to company, they can. So all those things you need to consider. So if company take more vacations, if company has more days off, if company work less time, will your duration will increase or effort will increase?
If it take up and takes more days, it means
if your company has more national holidays, more company holidays, or more resource,
Duration.
will duration increase or effort increase?
the
Duration.
Duration. You got it now? So that's why it is very important that you know the calendar. If I'm only working 3 hours, the duration will increase, but effort will not increase. Make sense or no? So it is very important. We need to know the calendar, company calendar, national calendar, and the resource calendar. So what happened if I go to here, please understand calendar. If I go here, you can see here, here non-working days, most managers or most companies, they will set up non-working days. So they will select here, they will see, you can see highlighted days here. Do you see that? So these days by default are non-working days. So if you give somebody that 14 days, Saturday, Sunday, it will automatically skip it because that is a part of duration, not a part of effort. Make sense? If somebody is not working, you can pick like a particular day, like example, you can pick particular day like this and say, is this day? So you can see here 8 to 12 and 13 to 17. This is the default time, right? So if I say non-working days, so if I select non-working day, so you can see it becomes 7. So it means anytime I associated that resource, look here, anytime I associated resource 7, so here this guy was working 2 to 7. If I say 7 is not, ideally it should jump to 8. Make sense or not? Because 7 become non-working day. Make sense? This is a free tool, it doesn't jump, but in Microsoft project, it jumps by, because if 7 is non-working day, everything will shift and this will be now become 20. Make sense or not? So if I say 7 is non-working day, and I'm going to say, okay, right? You can see that now it jumped. Did you notice? It jumped. But because there is a float, it did not change my 20. Make sense or not? But now let me show you here. This guy is working on 2/16 to 3/3, right? So now let's go to calendar, and I say February 20th, which is this one. I'll say non-working day. So now what? Listen carefully. What will happen? See, this one was started 16, ended on 3, and this was 90. But in between there's a 20, which I say non-working day. So this guy will push a little bit further. It means this will push. Check it out, and say okay. So here. You can see here, did not switch here.
It changed to 6th March.
Did it change?
Yeah,
Did it
finished, it changed to 6th March.
It did?
Yeah.
Yeah. This tool has a little bit of a problem, but actually you can see here, I can, anytime I say no, it will push things a little bit further. So the reason it does it, because it considered that thing. Now, example.
Because it was a weekend.
Possible. But anyway, what I'm trying to say, let's say here, we just talk about company holidays and national holidays. But let's say now I need to talk about resource. Because when we start the project, you first need to have what? What means scope? Do we have scope here? We have category and we have task, right? Then we have when. When you have when, which is a start date and end date. Make sense or not? Then how long? How long means you are each activity, you are talking about the time it takes. Make sense or not? Then sequencing. Sequencing means relationship amount time, which we did this relationship. Make sense? So when you do that, you get this type of diagram. This diagram is known as a Gantt chart. Gantt. Sometimes people ask, what is Gantt chart means? So Gantt chart is the person who came up with this thing. Is normally known as a, shows like a project timeline. It is known as a project timeline or project schedule. Project schedule. Project schedule means when project was, you start to end whole journey about project, which you cannot see in a project schedule. So first of it, now in this project, I have not mentioned any resources. Do you guys agree that task will be done by resource? Yes or no? Say yes or no. Task will be done by resources, but I have not mentioned any resources yet. In order to do resource, you have to click on the resource menu. Click on that, please click on the resource. Click on a resource. And when you click on resource, you will get this Excel type of icon. So click on resource. Now here you get Excel, right? So here normally there are two ways people write. If you are if you are knowing that who is going to work on your project, means you already know the developer, you know the QA, you know the BA, you know the name of the people, then you can use them, not a problem. But many times when you are doing project, you do not know that who will be the person going to work. But you know that you're going to work 3 developers. You think you need a 2 QA, you need a 1 database guy. You might know that, right, based on the work you have. So you can create as a unit. So this concept is pretty easy. Please pay attention. So right now, let's say and an architect. So I specified 3 groups: Dev, QA, and architect. Now, please understand, if I go further here, max unit. So 100% means 1 person. But if I did 200% means 2 people. And if I said 300% means I have 3 people. Means, think about they all are developers. So I don't have to say developer 1, developer 2, developer 3. I can just say 300% means there are 3 people. If I say 200% means there are 2 people. Make sense or not? So I can specify that. Or if you think like, it will make more sense, I can have Dev 1, Dev 2, Dev 3, you can do it as well. If you start a brand new project and you have no idea, you would do grouping, Dev, QA, and Dev, TA is a grouping because you don't know. If you know already that there's a team with 7 people and your name like a Tom, Mike, like that, you can do that naming convention, right? Tom, Mike, like that type of naming conventions, you can use that. So right now I don't know, so I can do it. But let's assume I also know the people names, and I can say Tom, right? Mike, maybe Kevin, right? Maybe Amy. I can say that. Make sense or not? Both practice is fine. If I do the name, then I'll do 100% because I'll not do 200%. If you have some agreement that the 1 person is going to work overtime, then you might be able to consider that 120%, 130% like that. If you know that this person is only available 50%, then you can specify here 50%. Make sense or not? Sometimes Scrum Master maybe 50% to the project. Then you can associate unit 50%. Good so far? Now, here, I'm not going to fill up this information, but I'm going to minimize so at least I can show you all in one screen. Now, standard rate, which is nothing but normal 8 hours rate. So like example, if Tom works, let's assume his billing rate is $50. And Mike works, let's say his billing rate is $80.
At 8-hour rate or per hour rate?
Yeah, so normal 8 hours means in that 8 hours, if you work 6 hours, 80 times 6. It's a weekdays means normal working hours, right? So 8 hours is a normal work hours. So Kevin, let's say his rate is $45. And Amy, she works a little bit higher, so her rate is $100. Now this is standard rate for 8 hours work schedule. But let's say if someone works overtime, then we multiply by 50. So let's say we give $75 to this person. And if we work here, let's say we give $100 to this person, and this can we give you $60 for this person, and this give person 125, 150. So that's the overtime. Make sense? It's always a good idea to know standard rate and overtime rate because it's automatically calculate the budget which will happen next. Make sure we do whatever we are doing right, and we'll save it so next time we can use it. But right now we added resources. Any question with adding resources?
What is the RBS?
RBS means resource breakdown structure. Resource breakdown structure means you can see who are the resources for the project. So sometimes people do grouping and technical group, and you can create small, like a breakdown, right? Just like work breakdown structure, resource breakdown structure. Now, I'm done with this one. If you want to see like graphical view, you can see graphical, so you can see resources like that. But this is the resources, and this is the graphical view, right? So this is just a resource graphical. Now, these guys are not costing me anything right now. Why? Why they're not costing me?
Because you haven't.
We have not assigned any work, right? So now let's go back to task. Make sure you follow me. Go to task. And when you click on task, go to Gantt. So task and click on the get. And now, please understand, you will see resource column. Can I count everyone is here so far? Now in resource column, the task one you have, over there, you can provide the resource. So here we will say this one is done by maybe Kevin. So I can write Kevin and system will automatically does Kevin. And this one is done by Mike. And this one is done by Amy. And this is done by Tom. And this is done by maybe Mike, because Mike is free.
You must.
Right? So all those people whom I already associated, I can add their name. Make sense of them? So you can add these people name. Good. Again, just like you think about your wedding event or picnic event, you do planning. I'm kind of, what do you call it? Any small thing I do, I normally do plan because it really helps us, because planning simplify everything. Everyone will know. Kevin know exactly what he's doing. Mike knows everything what he's doing. Same thing, Amy and Tom. And I also know that everything is covered. I don't have anyone free available. I know every task has an associated person. Make sense of it? People on phone, so far so good? Good. Now we have timeline, which is the duration 19 days. What we're going to do is we're going to use resource name, click on the column, click on the resource column, and then right click and insert column. Right click and insert column. Right click and insert column. Insert column and type cost or select cost. So see and select cost, complete cost, COST. You will see cost. Find cost like that and click on it and do OK. So it will now give you cost of the project. Pretty good. Right? I've been showing that, right? So you can see now you are able to see the duration here and you are able to see the total cost for the project. The project cost is 24,160. And this gives you overall durations and overall total project cost estimation. Any questions with respect to these two parameters? Durations and cost. Any questions? How did we derive? You will be working with whole your team. Entire team will be with you. Your project manager will be with you. Your stakeholder will be with you. So you are not alone. These activities, all those things, they will be helping you. Your team member will say what you want to do and all, and you have to come up with this. It may take a time. It's not like a one-day activity, but you may be able to do in a 2 days to 4 days time frame. But you will get at the end of the day this cost and this time. So if somebody asks how long and how much will it cost, can you answer it? Yes, sir. People on phone?
Yes.
Right. Now, one important thing. If I want to know this person, how much it is costing me each individually, then I go to resources, then I go to RBS. Now I can see that the cost for Tom is this much, my cost this much, Kevin is this much, and this. Make sense? Now, if I come back to the resource, sorry, let's click on resource usage. Usage means what percentage we are using this resource. So if you click on resource usage, you will surprise that some resources are heavily utilized and some resources are less utilized. So example, we utilize Kevin only for 16 hours. We utilize Amy for 104 hours. And this Mike is 128 hours. So which resources are utilized less? Kevin, right? Now, practicality. So Tom is working 56 hours. Mike is working 128 hours. Kevin works only 16 hours. And Amy works 104 hours. So if I draw the graph, there should be a graph here. There's tiny graph. It's not showing up here. Yeah, here. This graph. So if you click on this, Tom you can see the graph. So if I click on Mike, there's a graph. And if I say Kevin, there's a graph. And so you can see here that everyone is working on a different timing schedule. So you can see that they're working on a different timing. This type of management through, you can see out of 8 hours, you can see other people are completely blank. What does it mean? On a paper, they're not charging, but in a real life, if you are working and you're not doing, would you get a paycheck or not? You will. If you're working, if you're a company payroll, but if you're not doing anything, you will still get a paycheck. Yes or no?
Yes.
So on paper, this exercise is good, but in real life, it is not good. Why? Because, so you have to go back to task. You go to task and go to Gantt and say, you know what? How this is happening? Kevin start the work. What happened with Kevin? What happened with Kevin? Where did it go? He's not working. So company has to pay these hours. Yes or no? So rather than we ask Emmy to work so many hours, we can have Kevin work with Emmy. Yes or no? What do you guys think? So if they work, do you think this timeline will squeeze a little bit? Because 2 people are working?
Yes.
Yes. And what about Mike? So Mike is working here. Can Tom work here along with Mike?
Yeah.
And if so, now knowing this kind of things, I can now go to my, see the cost and all. Okay, you will see, make sure you understand. The cost was this much, duration was this thing. Okay, now I say, you know what, Mike, you will get a company from Tom. So you do comma Tom and press enter. So you see the price reduce and days reduce. Did you notice that? Say yes or no.
Yes.
Good. And now Emmy, you're gonna get a comma Kevin and press enter. What happens suddenly? The project used to take 19 days. Now it is done 30 days. And it used to cost 24,000. It is costing 19,800. And this is called, we call resource smoothing. Resource smoothing means we just did a smoothing, means no one should work up and down. They work equal hours approximately. Or resource leveling, through that, we reduce the project cost and we reduce the project duration. This is the expertise we bring to the table. Now they are kind of equally utilized. Make sense, huh? Questions, concerns, doubt?
I have a question.
Mhm.
Before we did the resource smoothing,
Mhm.
when we entered the 4 names of
Mhm.
employees and we entered different
Mhm.
hourly rate for each,
Mhm.
how did it come up with that? Because the employee that was the highest paid, it
Mhm.
utilized that more. It could have instead used the other employee that
Mhm.
was paid the least,
You
for a longer.
you can do that. So what you're trying to say that if I can use cheaper resource, right? But cheaper resource, who, but there is no right? So in America, it's very clear. If you're expert, you are highly paid. So most company will have like a one senior and one beginner. So there will be a mixed model. There will be there. But the problem is sometimes time matters, right? So sometimes you are ready to pay a little bit more money to have a higher resources. But if you hire a beginner or intern, you might be able to reduce the cost, but it's going to take longer, right? And the quality, always, you have a mixed model. Like some are experienced, some are expert, and some are beginner. So you need to have that model. Of course, not everyone will be paid equal. So you need to use your expensive resource very carefully. So your budget will not go high. Any other questions? Pretty easy, right? Pretty powerful. It's a pretty real life thing. And that's why project planning is important. Now,
Maybe just to help.
but why did you skip? If I were you, ask yourself, and this is my fundamental question in last 31 years, I'm asking, if I'm going for a movie, before I start movie, I make sure I use restroom. Because during movie, I will not, because I don't want to miss anything. And you should never do that. Because movie will continue if you are going for restroom. Do you agree on that? So it's very important that we remember. Now go ahead and ask questions. You shouldn't otherwise watch recording.
Okay, I will say, just when we started the column for tasks, that's where I just I did not follow.
Yeah.
We were on planning, then we put in the tasks, those columns for tasks.
Yeah, just add, just click here and start adding the task. You just add task 5, task 6. I just added the task like that, right? There's nothing special I did. If you want to add in the middle, you highlight. If you want to add a middle, highlight and say new task. So you can create a space here. So here, task 9. And then we talk about indent. So if you want to bring this task inside, so you do indent or you do outdent, right? Now, before we complete our exercise, let's save this file because we need this file next week. So let's save this file. So if you click on this floppy icon, it's going to save this file as POD part. It will save as a part, POD part, project object document. And you can select wherever you want to store. I want to, let's say, copy in a download folder, wherever you want to copy. It's up to you. So right now it's my copy in my document folder. That's okay. So you can put in document and can copy that. So you save. Now, please understand, when you do this exercise, this project which you have done is called schedule yet, but this has to be reviewed with your stakeholder. And those stakeholders, remember we talk about project charter? In project charter, at the last, if you remember, we have stakeholder. That stakeholder has to review this thing and they have to approve. If they review and if they think everything looks good, the cost is good, the resource model is good, and the timeline is good, if you're not missing anything, then you will save the baseline. So let me remove the task which I added because I don't want to create a problem. Remove the task which I added. Okay, so now if listen carefully, last thing. Before you say this is the project schedule, stakeholder has to review the timeline, they have to review the cost, they have to review the resource model. Once they review it, everything looks good, then you do save baseline. You're going to click on save baseline. So when you click on save baseline, that will save the baseline and do OK. And when you do save baseline, you can see now your gray color. The gray color added. It means this is your GPS. Your project has GPS now. So this is what you're going to plan, means you're going to work on. And your project monitoring part will start from here. Now, if project timeline you schedule properly, like example, you did say, hey, first activity Kevin is doing. Plan wise, it's supposed to take 2 days. Yes or no? That's after 2 days. After 2 days, you ask Kevin, where are we? And Kevin say, I'm done. So Kevin is going to say, I'm done 100%. Yes or no? So what you're going to do, you're going to do weekly status meeting. Do you guys agree or not? Like this weekly status meeting you're going to do. And each status meeting you will ask Kevin, you're going to ask Mike. And here you're going to ask Amy. Here you're going to ask Tom. You're going to ask Mike, right? So you have to do check status meeting, making sure you see the progress. So now let's assume for hypothetically that we have status meeting and we are asking Kevin, are you done? So double click on it. Please double click. Double click on it. 1, 2, 3, double click. Double click here. And here you can see the percent complete. So Kevin said, I have completed 100%. So just say 100. I completed 100%. Now, start date was exactly the same, end date was exactly the same, and he completed 100%. So if I do OK, close it. So now you can see it will mark a check mark that it is completed. And you can see here, there is a dark black color. Dark black color means Kevin follow the flow. And you can see here, there was a gray color here, and there is a black color. It means whatever plan, Kevin did it. Makes sense or not? Now ask yourself a question. If your plan was 2 days and you finish in 2 days, your start date and end date, everything looked good. So did you create any problem?
No.
No. So this is called variance is zero. Listen carefully. Variance is zero, which is called schedule variance. Schedule variance zero means good thing, right? Listen carefully. Schedule variance is zero means good thing. But now listen carefully. You planned 2 days, but actually you took 4 days. You planned 2 days, but actually you did 4 days. What does it mean? You took extra 2 days. So schedule variance will be now minus. So anytime schedule variance is minus, is good thing or bad thing? Bad thing, means we are now delayed. So if you get one message tonight from me, variance, positive is good, negative is bad. Speak with me. Positive is good, negative is bad. So example, if I say I will be doing in 2 days, but if I do in 6 days, is it a positive variance or negative variance? Is good thing or bad thing? Bad. Very good. I say I will do in 6 days. I'll say I'll do in 6 days, but I do in 1 day.
It's positive.
A good thing or bad thing? Very simple. Almost every interview I ask this thing. How would you monitor project success? The correct answer is variance. Because what you plan and what you execute, what is the actual? Plan versus actual. If plan and actuals are both identical, then variance is zero. Variance zero, no problem. Variance positive is no problem. But variance negative is a problem. Do you think all project activity go exactly as planned? No. So what happened? It's just like a car has a steering, sometime left, sometime right, sometime left, sometime right. So sometime variance positive, sometime variance negative. So you have to do adjustment. So project manager has to make sure variance remain in a controlled fashion. If you say 2 days and team member took 20 days, project manager will be gone. Project manager will be gone. Why? Because that type of thing is called dark red. How can you be that bad? 2 days activity should not be taking 20 days activity. Do you guys agree or not? So I will be very honest with you. BA/PM role are pretty intense role. Mistakes are not welcome. Let me repeat. Mistakes are not welcome. That's why superficially working on a project is almost suicide, because you're talking about millions of dollars, right? It's not $100 or $200 that you can give from pocket. One single day, the dollar you are going to do is called burning rate. Speak with me.
Burning rate.
And this burning rate will be equivalent to a house burning rate in a 1 week. So in a house, like our house might be 500,000, that will be the burning rate in a 1 week. Make sense? So if you don't monitor properly, the project will go significant rate. And when projects go significant rate, then company will take over. So there is a concept called PMO, Project Management Office. Say enough is enough, good, but not good enough. They're gone. So they check everything. This is called project health. So project health, they will ask you 3-4 questions. How are we doing with the time? They will ask variance. How are we doing with the cost? How are we doing with the quality? How are we doing with the scope? If they smell it that you are not doing right, then they will take over the project. It means you're gone. After that, it's pretty hard for you to create a brand. So make sure you monitor variance once in a while, 1 day, 2 day, no one's going to bother you. But if you are skipping for 2-3 weeks, it will be a concern, because a 1 week with 8 people, a lot of money you will be losing. Hundreds of $1,000 loss will happen. Got it? So that's called project tracking. We'll talk about more next week. We have not even touched everything. However, so far, any question? We are on